Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. My goal is to bring you the latest news as it pertains to the country, the economy, as well as our money. Here's a tweet on your screen from Lachlan Markey, and Lachlan covers political money and influence at Axios. And Lachlan writes, the Democratic fundraising platform ActBlue tells Axios it will no longer process donations for Governor Andrew Cuomo. This is essentially, folks, a body blow. In fact, I would say it's a kiss of death to the remaining political prospects for Andrew Cuomo. If you've been following the news, you know what's been happening with Andrew Cuomo. He's been besieged by sexual misconduct allegations, and I believe this is the end of his political career. And if he doesn't resign, he's probably going to be impeached. The headline on your screen is from Axios Scoop. The Democratic fundraising platform ActBlue essentially boots Andrew Cuomo. That is essentially the end of his prospects, his political prospects. In the meantime, let's show you this video on your screen from President Biden, where the president says, I quote, I've got a commitment from General Motors CEO Mary Barra. When they make the first electric Corvette, I get to drive it. You think I'm kidding? No, I'm not kidding. This is the president of the United States pushing his green energy future, his electric vehicle future. Let's roll the tape and watch President Biden in action. Let's watch.
Folks, let me now turn to today's event. I want to thank Bernie for the introduction and for being part of the best auto workers in the world. Thank you, Ray Curry, president of UAW. If you're here, Ray, I was in with you. It's good to see you, pal. And I also want to thank the leaders of the big three companies for being here today. Mary Barra, she General Motors. I want to tell you, I think she's one of the reasons we're here today. We had a long discussion on a Zoom call with a bunch of labor leaders and other major business leaders, and she made a commitment, and she's keeping it. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Jim Farley of Ford. And by the way, my dad was in the automobile business. He sold Fords for a while, but mostly General Motors products. But you see that sucker over there? 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds. It's all electric. I tell you what, and I want to say publicly, I have a commitment from Mary. When they make the first electric Corvette, I get to drive it. Right, Mary? You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. And my entire Secret Service detail went, oh my God, let's go.
And here's another video clip. This one is from Kevin Liptak, and Kevin essentially works with CNN. He's a White House reporter. This is President Biden driving an electric Jeep around the South Lawn. Let's roll the tape and check out what the President of the United States is up to as he pushes a green energy future. Let's roll the tape and watch. And earlier, President Biden outlined his ambitious goal. He said, I quote, today I'm signing an executive order setting out a target of 50% of all passenger vehicles sold by 2030 will be electric. Let's roll the tape and watch President Biden in action. Check it out.
Lift up American auto workers and strengthen the American leadership in the world in a clean car technology, trucks, not just cars, but trucks as well, and buses. That's why today I'm signing an executive order setting out a target of 50% of all passenger vehicles sold by 2030 will be electric, and set in motion an all-out effort.
And folks, in a pretty interesting response, the president was asked about the governor of Florida, the Republican governor Ron DeSantis, going on and complaining nonstop about the president's actions as it pertains to the pandemic. And I think the president's response is priceless. His response was, Governor who? Let's roll the tape and watch President Biden setting the record straight and not paying too much attention to the ramblings of the Republican governor from Florida, Ron DeSantis. Let's roll the tape and watch.
Why are you Congressman DeSantis, who is using your words about don't be in the way, and he's saying I am in the way to block too much interference from the federal government? Your response, Mr. President?
Governor who?
DeSantis.
Why is there
And speaking of Ron DeSantis, the White House press secretary Jen Psaki said this about Governor Ron DeSantis, a Republican from Florida, who, by the way, called President Biden a power-hungry tyrant. This is what Jen Psaki said. 25% of hospitalizations in the country are in Florida. The governor has taken steps that are counter to public health recommendations. Wow. Let's roll the tape and watch the White House press secretary Jen Psaki setting the record straight and clarifying for the public what exactly is going on in Florida and how the Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is taking actions that are the exact opposite to public health recommendations, to White House recommendations, to CDC recommendations. Let's roll the tape and hear from Jen Psaki.
25% of hospitalizations in the country are in Florida. It is also a fact that the governor has taken steps that are counter to public health recommendations. So we're here to state the facts. Frankly, our view is that this is too serious, deadly serious, to be doing partisan name-calling. That's what we're not doing here. We're focused on providing public health data, information to the people of Florida to make sure they understand what steps they should be taking, even if those are not steps taken at the top of the leadership in that state.
And speaking of ramblings, everyone, President Biden and the CDC have extended the eviction moratorium by another couple of months, and I did cover this elsewhere on our channel. And this is what the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had to say on the eviction moratorium. When some socialist House members failed to convince their own fellow Democrats to extend this nationwide socialism through legislation, they somehow prevailed on President Biden through PR stunts. What is he referring to? So what is McConnell referring to? He's referring to Congressman Cori Bush, who actually slept outside Congress. By the way, she used to be homeless. She slept outside Congress for 5 nights in an effort to essentially put pressure on the White House to extend the eviction moratorium. That is indeed what happened. Let's roll the tape and see what the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had to say about the eviction moratorium. Let's watch.
For a year and a half now, government has basically told landlords they have little or no recourse if tenants stop paying the rent. This isn't just about massive corporations that some think could eat losses forever. Family businesses who own 1 or 2 units have had to keep paying their bills, their taxes, and their mortgages the whole time. Congress already sent billions of dollars to states for rental assistance. The problem is with state governments, who've been pathetically slow to get the money out. But when some socialist House members fail to convince their own fellow Democrats to extend this nationwide socialism through legislation, they somehow prevailed on President Biden through PR stunts. One day before the president's announcement, a senior advisor said the president had, quote, double, triple, quadruple checked whether he had the legal authority to do this, and he concluded he did not. The president himself admitted that legal scholars find his position untenable, but he still caved and did it. The far left wants to turn this terrible but temporary pandemic into a Trojan horse for permanent socialism, and the administration is letting them call the shots.
And if you thought that was interesting, check out Congresswoman Liz Cheney, the Republican from Wyoming, talking about her dad, Dick Cheney. She said, I quote, "My dad is deeply troubled about where our party is." Pretty incredible. Let's roll the tape and hear from a prominent Republican Congressman, Liz Cheney, the Republican from Wyoming. Let's watch.
My dad is deeply troubled about where our party is, deeply troubled about where the country is, and just a tremendous source of advice and guidance and wisdom for me.
And folks, in the meantime, the Republicans want to try and create as much chaos as possible. Here's Governor Ron DeSantis talking about Cuba, and I'll tell you why this is important in just a second. He says, I quote, "A free Cuba would be in the interest of the United States of America." Let's roll the tape and hear from Governor Ron DeSantis about a free Cuba being in the interests of the United States of America. Let's watch.
A free Cuba would be in the interest of the United States of America. I mean, if you want influence of the Communist Party of China in the Western Hemisphere and Russia, then support the regime in Havana, because they want every nefarious influence around the world comes through there. If you want no Chinese influence, you don't want Russian influence, then you should want a free Cuba. If you want to have a good Western Hemisphere and not have all these problems in places like Venezuela and Nicaragua, then you should want to see a change in the regime in Havana, because Havana has for decades spawned all kinds of disruptions and oppression throughout the Western Hemisphere. So we have an opportunity as a country. Certainly the state of Florida stands unequivocally with the people of Cuba. We have an opportunity, though, to make a difference. And it requires leadership from the White House. It requires the president to show and take tangible steps to stand with the people of Cuba. Don't do things that are going to bolster the regime. Don't do remittances. Don't help Venezuela. Don't do any of those things. Stand with these freedom fighters. I called immediately for internet to be restored, to have the United States take the lead. That has not happened yet. There's a bunch of different ways where that could possibly be happen. And what I've told people is, look, if the U.S. government won't do it, if we can do it in Florida, if there's a company that will do it, we'll work to do it. I mean, this is really, really important and really is a no-brainer for something that we should want to see.
And speaking of chaos and speaking of Cuba, the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, the Republican from California, said this, I quote, "You cannot be the leader of the free world if you want to appease socialism and communism." And in the very next statement, he says something that is pretty much the exact opposite. But first, let's check out the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, on Cuba saying, "You cannot be the leader of the free world if you want to appease socialism and communism." Let's roll the tape and watch.
You cannot be the leader of the free world to believe what happened on July 11th, 12th, and 13th is about COVID. It's about freedom. You cannot be the leader of the free world when those who crave freedom and you sit silent. You cannot be the leader of the free world if you want to appease socialism and communism. That's not the country of who we are. That's not what we stand for. We've watched time and again the failure of communism, the oppression of socialism. You cannot be the leader of the free world where people are gathered, put into prison and never heard from all ages. You cannot be the leader of the free world if you want to see freedom, not just in Cuba, but throughout Latin America. This is the place to be. This is what to fight for. And you cannot be the Speaker of the House if you adjourn the House without even bringing up a resolution to tell the freedom fighters in Cuba that we stand with you. And we will not back down. That's why we're here.
And in the next segment, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy says this, "You cannot be Speaker of the House if you adjourn the House without even bringing up a resolution to tell the freedom fighters in Cuba that we stand with you." This is the exact opposite statement. So which one is it, Kevin McCarthy? Is it about socialism and communism, or is it about standing by the freedom fighters in Cuba? I think this is a politician trying to have his cake and eat it too. Let's take a look at the exact opposite segment where he says, "You cannot be Speaker of the House if you adjourn the House without even bringing up a resolution to tell the freedom fighters in Cuba that we stand with you." Let's roll the tape and watch this contradictory statement from Kevin McCarthy. Let's watch.
And you cannot be the Speaker of the House if you adjourn the House without even bringing up a resolution to tell the freedom fighters in Cuba that we stand with you.
That's it, everyone. Please click the like button. Please click subscribe. Please enable notifications. Thank you so much for watching. I want you to know I greatly appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. By the way, please check out our Twitter feed. This right here is our Twitter feed. Our Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Please don't forget to click like, subscribe, and enable notifications. I'll see you soon. Bye.